Hello again, it's James Collinson from Design Spec. We are an architectural design company based in the southeast of the UK, and we help homeowners just like you to extend, renovate, and build their dream homes. In this video, we're going to walk you through how one of our clients managed to save 8 weeks, yes folks, 8 weeks of total timeline on their home extension project. Now, before we dive into how we did that, let's tell you a little bit more about them, their situation, and more importantly, their property. So this family came to us with a 3-bedroom property in Brentwood in Essex and had actually just been refused planning permission for both a hip to gable loft conversion and a single-story rear extension, which was proposed at 5 meters on the back of this home. First and foremost, we offer a free appraisal at Design Spec, so we got under the hood of the previous refusal, had a look at their property and all of the properties up and down that stretch of road to first of all do our due diligence on should this ever be reapplied for. This particular property was in a fairly sensitive location. It needed to be thought out, and throwing in one large planning application to effectively turn this modest 3-bed into a large 4-bed did need to be chopped up into some smaller components. So first and foremost, we set out to advise these clients on how we would submit these applications, and it starts by chopping it into a certificate of lawfulness for the loft conversion, and then we recommended a householder planning application for the 4.5 meter, not 5 meter, rear extension. That made the application process 10 times easier, although it did push the cost up by £400 to £500. However, that did prove to be the right solution for this family and indeed this property, because we managed to lock in both approvals first time around. That was the first part of this journey. How did we save 8 weeks of timeline? First and foremost, by chopping it into 2 applications, you'd presume that the time would have increased, not decreased. However, each and every planning application tends to come with a very similar, if not identical, local authority timeline. So once we'd done our design work and got that approved with this family, all that was really left to do was to test the council and submit these 2 applications. So we submitted them at the exact same time, and they both had a timeline of 8 to 12 weeks with the local authority. Let's dive under the hood of some of those timelines. So when the local authority say that on their website, and indeed if you were to call them, they will tell you it takes 8 weeks for a planning decision, that doesn't account for the 2 to 3 weeks of what we call the validation process. So when you submit any form of planning application, it first of all goes through a minor vetting process, if you will, where the council will double check the fees, the paperwork, and indeed the drawings to make sure that it complies with the government regulation. Once that chunk of time is taken and we're in the system of the 8 to 12 weeks, this is where we're able to save some serious time. Many applicants, whether that's the homeowner, the agent, or everything in between, tend to await the planning decision. And as an agent, we will always recommend to allow that planning application the time that is necessary for the council to make their decision. So now let's presume that we've got your planning permission in the bag, as we had done with this 3-bedroom property, now 4-bedroom with planning permission. You have now got to go through the final phases of the paperwork, which include structural engineers detailing and a building control package. Also, before we go any further, to help you and your family with your home extension, we've put together 2 free downloads in the description box below. We've got your Before You Build checklist, which you can follow through at home and just make sure that you're asking the right questions and covering off the right boxes before you involve any design company, any structural engineer, and indeed any builder. And then we've also got our Ultimate Homeowner Guide, which is a very lengthy document. It can guide you from the very beginning of your process all the way to the very end, and that also is in that description box. That particular guide comes with a very lengthy video series as well, where we give you more tips and tricks than the document itself will give you. Be sure to check that out by clicking that link below. Back to our family in their 3-bedroom property, now 4-bedroom with their planning permission. Once that planning permission was locked in, the only way to save these clients real time, and they really needed it, they had the builder lined up, they were ready to go, of course, before they'd even come to us, was by expediting their structural engineers package and their building control drawings. Before I go any further with this, I must highlight the potential risk of starting your structural engineers work or the structural calculations and your building control package before planning permission lands. For the sake of this video and for the sake of this family, we highlighted the risk and then explained to the clients that for the sake of risking anywhere between £500 and £1,000, of additional paperwork cost, we might be able to save you these 8 weeks, the magical 8 weeks. So here it goes. A structural engineer requires at least 3 weeks, generally the 4 to 5, but we'll go in the middle here, and for the sake of this video, I've done an average of 4 weeks for the engineers to visit sites, complete their structural calculation package, and to do 1 to 2 amendments, depending on whether we wanted amendments or the clients wanted amendments. Now, our next video really dives deep into the structural calculations and how we can save you serious money. In that particular video, it's £12,000, which we break down for you very shortly. But for this video, we're going to stick strictly to the timelines. That engineer needing that 4-week period, you can imagine your planning permission lands. Now you need your structural calculations. Well, that 4-week time period is now put on top of your planning application cycle. So that's 8 to 12 weeks plus 4 weeks. So we explain to these clients that for the sake of this application, we feel that if we make the application safe enough, i.e. go from 5-meter rear extension to 4.5, and we chop this into 2 separate applications, one to use your permitted development rights for the loft conversion, and then one to ask for a 4.5-meter rear extension, we feel that your chances of approval are going to go up exponentially, and therefore, your risk to instruct the structural engineer has been massively reduced. The clients were thankfully on board, and by commencing the engineering package at the same time as submitting their planning application, we were all concluded with our structural calculation package way before the council had issued their planning certificates. That's 4 weeks saved straight away, and the other 4 weeks, quite simply, were saved in our building control drawings. We had the exact same conversation with the clients as soon as the calculations landed. There is a minor risk that if the council want any changes to that design during the planning stage, it will have a direct impact on the structural calculations and the building control drawings. Our clients on this occasion, due to the stress of needing to get going during the summer months, were happy to push the button on the building control drawings. Between the structural calculations and our building control drawings, we did save a grand total of 8 weeks. That was a huge, huge win for this family. However, it didn't stop there. Contractors, generally speaking, will only start to price up the work when they've already had all of the structural calculations, all of the building control paperwork, and they would most certainly like to tick their internal box to say that this has planning permission. What we were able to do, although the clients did have a builder in mind, they still wanted to go to tender, they still wanted to do the correct procedure as this builder had been recommended to them, but it was the only one that was recommended to them. Theoretically speaking, although we've saved 8 weeks in total by commencing the calculations and the building control package, we now needed to expedite that builder's quotation stage. As soon as the engineer's package landed, not the building control drawings, so we've now submitted to planning, we've commenced on the engineering. The engineering has taken 4 weeks, and this occasion it was just over 3 weeks. We've got that structural calculation package with us. We instantly fired that off to 2 to 3 contractors, free of charge, at Design Spec, of course. And now for the final 3 to 4 week period, while we complete our building control drawings, the builders are going around to the address, they're working with the homeowners, they're building out their full quotation criteria, and our clients are also getting to know these builders while all of the paperwork is landing. The second that we had our building control package complete, we sent it back out to the 1 or 2 contractors that the homeowners were really looking to lock in. They would finalize their quotation with some of the insulation details or the glazing details or some of the extra bits and pieces that we would have overlaid within our building control package, and it's more of a matter of just finalizing as opposed to quoting at that point. In total, our clients went from a refused planning application to all paperwork being approved and a contractor lined up within a 12-week period from the day that they rang Design Spec. It's a very common one for us. It's where we look to save most time for our clients. It certainly helped this family out over in Brentwood. Now, as I say, this can be an incredibly daunting procedure with a lot of certification, a lot of red tape that surrounds extending your home. If you're in any doubt whatsoever as to the permissions that you may need or the certificates that I've discussed in this video, please be sure to double check those documents that we've listed below in the description box. For the certificates in particular, go to the Ultimate Homeowner Guide and let us walk you through with the video series explaining exactly what all of this means for you and your family. That concludes that video, and as I say, next up is a deep dive into the structural calculations, which we've briefly touched on in this video, but to really let you know how you can save huge money, be sure to check out our next YouTube video, which will be out very soon. Thank you again for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you soon.